It is Y105, Dubuque's #1 hit music station. My name is Steve Pulaski, and my next guest takes food way more seriously than he takes himself. Those are his words, not mine. He's launched wildly successful restaurants in Maryland and Washington, D.C., and presently, he's one of Jon Taffer's guest hosts on the hit show Bar Rescue, streaming on Paramount Plus and, of course, on the Paramount Network. I find him and his story incredibly fascinating. I think you will, too. He is Chef Ashish Alfred. How are we doing today, Ashish?
I'm doing amazing. Thanks so much for having me and for that great introduction. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Ashish. I appreciate talking to you, my friend. I think Bar Rescue has given you a significantly large platform. People are actively learning about you and your career. What do you want people to know about Ashish Alfred?
I guess it's a bad time to say don't believe everything you see on the internet. I think as people get to learn about me, I think what they will see is my life has been rife with difficulty and failure and trials and tribulations, and I've never let any of that define me. I've always said that I've always had to work a little bit harder than everybody else. I've always had to try a little bit harder. I've never learned things the easy way. I've always learned things the hard way. Ashish Alfred is a real blue-collar guy that, started from nothing and turned himself into something.
I want to give you some bragging rights over here, Ashish, for all that you've done. Talk about those wildly successful restaurants you got in Maryland, Washington, D.C., and the East Coast area.
Sure. So my flagship is Duck Duck Goose. Duck Duck Goose, we opened just under 10 years ago. We had it up to about 3 locations. We, post-pandemic, we whittled it down to just one. I've got another place called Osteria Parata, which is our red sauce Italian joint in Baltimore, Maryland. And I've got a little pub, a little 13-seater bar, really, really cute. It's in the basement of one of the oldest cities in America, in Fells Point. It's called the Anchor Tavern.
What got you into food and wanting to be a chef and restaurateur, Ashish?
Honest answer is I really sucked at everything else. I tried to do a few different things. I thought I wanted to do a handful of things before I got really serious about cooking. I worked a bunch of jobs in the front of house. I bartended, I barbacked, I bounced, I hosted. And, I realized pretty early on that I probably wasn't going to do very well if I stayed out front. And my parents wanted me to get a piece of paper saying that I knew how to do something. So it was off to culinary school I went, and I didn't, to be honest, have any real passion for cooking. I fell in love with the routine. I fell in love with the militaristic nature of the kitchen. And I just wanted to be a good cook. I never wanted to be, some world famous chef. And I really enjoyed the work of cooking. I enjoyed that, it was an exact science for the most part.
I love it. He is Chef Ashish Alfred. You mentioned earlier, just a couple of minutes ago, too, that you said your life has been rife with trials, tribulations, both personal and external. You're the person to ask, though. What does it take to completely reinvent yourself as a person, a human being, etc.?
I think first and foremost, the only person that can do it for you is you. You have to be fed up enough of your current circumstance to want to make a change. If you don't see what's wrong with what you're doing, if you are not set up enough with your situation, just like on the show, when we talk about Bar Rescue and going in and transforming some of these places, a lot of people, they end up calling in because they realize that their situation is unsustainable. In the same way in your personal life, I think whether it's finances, whether it's relationships, whether it's drugs and alcohol, whatever, I think that you have to want a change. You have to realize that something is broken. My best thinking is not working for me. I need to do something different. I think that to make any real transformation, you have to realize that the change needs to be made.
Fast forward, you're one of the marquee guest hosts on Bar Rescue. How did you first meet Jon Taffer, Ashish?
So I first met Jon on set. I went in to shadow him while he was doing a rescue, and man, Jon is just larger than life. It was a little bit intimidating, but also very, very humbling. He really, really cares a lot about this industry. He's super knowledgeable about it. He cares a lot about these bar owners, and it really comes through in every word, in every action. It really, really comes through.
Did he contact you first? Did you reach out to him? How did this start?
The show contacted me. And I think that Jon, obviously, I'm sure was a part of that vetting process. the show reached out and they told me what the gig was. And, 9 months later, I had a camera in my face.
Can you think of anything, I guess, Paramount that you've learned from Jon or maybe have applied in your own sort of teachings and when it comes to running restaurants that you have? Can you think of anything singular that he has taught you?
I think that what I've learned from Jon is something that a lot of people, I think, get to see from Jon every Sunday. There is almost nothing that you cannot fix. There's very few problems for which there's not a solution. The solution may take a little bit longer than you want. The solution may be more difficult than you had imagined. The solution may ask for a little bit more sacrifice than you had imagined. But there's almost no job or almost no problem that does not have a solution. We go into these spaces and a lot of people, there's the naysayers that you see that say, oh, well, the show's fake or it's staged or whatever. And if I'm being honest, before I made it there, I had some of those questions. I was like, this can't be real. They can't really be doing this in the time frame that they're saying and really be overhauling these places in the way that they're showing that they are. Man, it's real. It's real. They go in and in 36 hours they rebuild that space. It is amazing to watch. And while we might not be able to fix the finances of a business or pull them $300, $400, $500, sometimes $1 million out of debt in the few days that we're there, what we do end up doing without fail is setting some processes in place. And one thing that I know is really important, Jon, and it's really, really important to me, is starting these relationships back off on a clean and clear footing. Jon says it when he does the show that he worked for the hug. He worked for that hug that you get at the end. And I did not appreciate it until I had gotten it. Sometimes you're getting people to talk that are husband and wife or mother and son or brother and sister or whatever, and the problems of their business have put them in a place where they've forgotten who they are to one another. So a lot of times seeing those people come back together at the end of the show, that's really satisfying. That's more satisfying than the makeover. That's more satisfying than, watching them learn how to cook new food. That really is what I think the show is about.
These are incredible insights. Again, he is Chef Ashish Alfred. Personally, you're mine and my girlfriend's favorite guest host on Bar Rescue, and we watch a ton of it. We've seen almost every episode. I gotta hand it to you, too. You come up with some amazingly vivid descriptions. Like, I think it was describing an overcooked burger as looking like your dead granddad's nuts.
For the record, I haven't seen my granddad's nuts, but I imagine that they probably look dry, dark, and shriveled, just like that burger did.
Well, you stole my question. No, I'm kidding. But also, you're also an incredibly observant person, and you're great at communicating, Ashish. I mean that. Where does that come from?
As far as being observant, I think that the people who I learned the most from in any of the jobs that I've had, and I've had a lot, they were people that could have the ability to just stand back and watch. Just give it a second. Just let it marinate a second. A lot of times people don't have the ability. People, just they're in a rush to react. So, and as far as my ability to communicate, my mother was a PhD in linguistics, and my father was quite an accomplished editor. So I learned to have perfect diction very early on. I learned to communicate clearly and concisely very early on. And I realized at a young age that it was not my ability to cook or to bartend, or it was my ability to communicate and communicate effectively and respectfully that would put me in the room that I wanted to be in.
What's a common misconception about the restaurant industry or even chefs in general, in your opinion?
I think a common misconception is that the restaurant industry is easy. That, you show up, you throw some liquor on the shelves, you put some food in the back, and it's going to be okay. I think another common misconception is that there's loads of money to be made. We see in the news now, especially restaurants that have been around for decades are closing. It is not a high profit margin business. I think latest statistics are showing a 4% profit margin. That means just to put simple math in, if you make $100, it costs you $96 to make $100. So you're taking home $4. Extrapolate that over all those employees and all the other responsibilities and regulatory issues and whatever else. 4% is a lot of really hard. It's a lot of really hard work to get to 4%. I think as far as, misconceptions about chefs are concerned, I think, everybody assumes that chefs are, what you see on TV when you turn on TV and Gordon Ramsay is there. I think that is a misconception. I think that there's a time and place. I mean, people have seen me on the show. Obviously, I get good and loud when I need to, but it comes at a price. You can yell and shout and be that guy when you need to be that guy. But I think more importantly, you have to let people know that they can count on you. People have to know that they can count on you intellectually, count on you physically. I think that there's a misconception that chefs are just, sitting back there, cooking angel's hair soaked in virgin tea, and mounting it with different kinds of flours all day. No, it's a tough job.
I asked another chef this recently, and I want your opinion on it, Ashish. What are some of the most overused or overrated ingredients in cooking?
This is going to be the unpopular opinion, but I feel like I would not lose 1 second of sleep if I never saw a bottle of white truffle oil ever again. I would not lose 1 wink of sleep if I never saw a bottle of pink Himalayan sea salt ever again. What else? Man, I could go on and on. Those are 2 of my major ones. Also, I feel like, the day of the balsamic reduction. I could stand to never see that again. I think it's got like 1 or 2 applications that it makes sense for. And other than that, I think it's just a way for chefs to write "I'm insecure" on the side of the plate.
What about behind the bar? Any alcohols or mixes you find unappealing or better substitutes or something like that?
I mean, I feel like it's 2024. We're all too old for Rose's line at this point. I think we've all outgrown it. I think, if you're over the age of, 21 and you're still looking for Fireball on ice behind the bar, I think you should probably question your life choices a little bit. What's another one? I mean, what good has ever come from no, I guess that's really all I can speak to. I'll wind that back in a little bit.
Not a UV blue fan, I take it?
No. No.
One more for you, Ashish. Many chefs write books. Do you see yourself writing a cookbook, a memoir, both, neither eventually? Do you see yourself writing a book, putting pen to paper?
So I have written a book. I'm working on getting it published right now. The book is entitled Just the Tips. Everybody should work in a restaurant. I believe that working in a restaurant is tantamount to a PhD. I've worked everything, like I said, from bouncer to bartender to barback to cook to culinary intern. And I believe that in each of those roles, I learned a life lesson that maybe I didn't know I was learning at the time, but it served me later in life.
I would love to have you back on when you publish that book, Ashish. He is Chef Ashish Alfred. I want to give you the final word, my friend, to promote Bar Rescue, your personal website, anything social media, whatever you would like to promote. Ashish, the floor is yours.
Man, it's been great to be on. If you want to catch me on Bar Rescue, it's on every Sunday at 9 p.m. Central, 10 Eastern on the Paramount Network. It streams on Paramount Plus. You can find me at my restaurants in Baltimore. You can find me on Instagram at Chef Ashish Alfred, online at thealfredrestaurantgroup.com. It's been such a pleasure to be on. It's great to know that you're a fan. You've shared some really kind words with me, and hopefully I could see a lot more of you soon.
I look forward to it. Chef Ashish Alfred, greatly appreciate your time.
Take care.